And we're live as I tweet that we're live, so everyone knows that we're live. But hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Rest. I'm your co-host, Ari and as always, and I'm joined by Nathan every week without fail. How are you, my friend? How was your weekend? It's turning around. It's turning around. Something's happening here, isn't there? Isn't it?
Yeah, well, there is a little bit going on. The weekend started pretty poorly, driving to a location just to find out that the game had been moved 24 hours in advance, and there was no public announcement about that, which is the second time it's happened to me. So it might be my own fault, but 24 hours is probably not enough time when you don't publicly say anything. But no point. And then it got better. Then two championship games, under 18 championship games on the weekend. This is AFL news, I guess. The Allies won their first championship, and the Allies are a combination of Tassie, New South Wales, Queensland, and the NT, but I don't think there are any NT boys. Well, not if so, not many. They won their first championships. They went undefeated, so that's pretty big for, I guess, those states. It's rare when it's not Victoria winning it or, SA or WA. So some big news there. Some very impressive Tassie boys coming up, and same with the Gold Coast boys. So Tassie's team will be starting pretty well. And then obviously the Blues getting up, which was, like we talked about pre-show. It was just something.
It was good. Big. It was good. Like, I know we don't speak about can't. And I know we haven't very much this year for obvious reasons. But we looked good, didn't we? We looked good.
It did look good. It was good. It was relaxing.
For once, hey?
It was.
For once. Like, the last 3 weeks have been just, we've won at halftime, so it's good. You know what I mean? Yeah. But anyways, we don't speak about that club here because if we have to speak about the good, we have to speak about the bad, and I really don't want to speak about the bad. So I think it's a fair trade-off. Let's crack on with the show. Quite a few things to speak about. Luckily, I mean, I was looking at the run sheet on Monday, and I was like, not a lot to speak about until Monday night happens. And Stuart Dew got sacked. So we're going to be speaking about that. We're also going to be speaking about another incident that involved the Gold Coast Suns over the weekend, which I think hasn't been talked about in terms of the controversy that it potentially could have caused or did cause. Essendon, should they forced to play the Cats at GMHBA Stadium? We'll be talking about that. And of course, the sin bin as well, as we have a special guest in the chat, Mr. The Pair. Hello, my friend. How are you? I'm sure this is part of your weekly Wednesday night routine. And then it's Gold Coast drinking their own bathwater. That makes such terrible decisions. Well, I think that's a good segue. Let's crack on. Let's crack on and sacked. And let's start things off. Stuart Dew gone. 6 years. I don't know how long he's been in the job, but he's been in the job for a while. I think this is their fourth coach in 9 years. Once a new coach is appointed, and I'm sure we'll be speaking on potential candidates for that gig. But as we always do with these kind of big news events, what was your immediate reaction when you saw the news, considering what had happened the week before with Caro on Channel 9 or Footy Classified, and it actually came to fruition? Well, what was your initial reaction when you saw the news? Oh, he's dropped out. He's back. A little bit of technical difficulties, but we're all right. We're all good.
Immediate thoughts, yeah. Well, it was actually funny because when you look back a week before, it was that's good. That is a good one.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah.
When you look back the week before and the board was backing him for this year and next year of his contract, you just sort of sit there and you laugh. I mean, I do think it's a bit harsh. I don't think the problem's really ever been their coach. Because I've always said it's a culture thing there, because
very adamantly
they have a list to compete. Yes, they have a list to compete for finals, and they realistically should be making the top 8. If you put this team in different colours with a fan base that's was pretty strong, they would make finals. The culture there just doesn't allow them to make finals. I don't think where's your supporter base? Like, they're not following you around. They're not. You when you're traveling, you're traveling. You're on your own.
Yeah.
That's always been an issue for them. They've never been able to bank those away wins, which we've seen recently as well. I mean, they came to MCG, played Carlton, who were off 6 losses. Like, that shouldn't be a difficult win. Obviously, we decided we were good again, but still, I just think it's a culture thing. Sure, you could say, yeah, with the list that he's got, he should be getting more out of them, but I would blame the actual list itself that they just can't lift. But it is around the culture of that club. What have you got to lift for? Like when you're away, who are you lifting for? Like
yeah.
So I think it's harsh, but we'll talk about potential future coaches, but who are like I just don't actually see a coach that would. I don't think a coach is the difference in this scenario.
Yeah. Well, I think Brandon in the comments kind of alluded to it. I think I agree. And I know that doesn't make for a good discussion if I agree all the time. But I think I agree in terms of the fact that I don't think it's a person. I think it is a total top to bottom holistic problem at that football club. There is a lot wrong, and I agree. I think the list is extremely talented. I mean, Ben King is one of the better young forwards in the comp. You've got Ballard and Collins down the other end, and your midfield is one of the better contested midfields in the comp, with one of the better ruckmen in the comp. And then you can sprinkle your Bailey Humphries and these type of players in and around. It builds for a really good and exciting list, right? And with the right coach, I was going to say with the right coach, but we've seen even under Dew, they were playing exciting football at times. Of course, we saw what they dismantled Hawthorn. Even last year, they beat Richmond after being after being down halfway through the last quarter, I think it was, and they came back and they showed signs of this really exciting brand of football that can really take it to teams, and it seemed like it was all clicking. I don't know if the sacking was justified, because I think obviously 2021 there was no Wits, 2022 there was no King, and 2023 there's been no Took Miller. That's three of your best players that haven't been available to him for 3 years straight. It's not his fault. He didn't sign. It was what Bose to a stupidly long contract that they had to give away a pick so someone else could take it up. It's not his fault that a lot of these things have happened. I think, and I agree with Anthony in the comments. I think Juice should have been their first finals coach. I think he is the. I think he's the. He definitely has the managerial and the coaching ability to coach this side of the finals. I don't think it's his problem. I don't think it's the list problem. I think it's the decision makers, the culture, the board, like you alluded to. So I think it's a little bit unfair. However, in the same vein, like we both said, the list is there, right? The list is there. The list is there to make finals, or at least the list is there to give finals a red hot crack. And they've been underwhelming this season. They've been underwhelming this season, especially early on. They won 6 out of I think they won 6 out of 9 games before losing to Carlton. They beat Hawthorn quite convincingly, but then they lost obviously to Collingwood quite convincingly, and Port Adelaide quite convincingly, despite leading at halftime. There was a 9-goal quarter in the third to Port Adelaide. So I think you have to attribute some blame to Stuart Dew. I don't think it's. Do you think it's enough blame for him to get sacked, or do you think it's he was part of the problem, but the problem can be solved by looking at the higher up and looking at a more holistic perspective, or do you think it's a case of he's a senior coach, he technically has the most authority in that football club. He is responsible for the culture. He's responsible for the list not clicking. How much blame do you attribute Stuart Dew to the poor run of form that the Gold Coast have had for the ever since he's been in charge, basically?
Oh, well, I'd attribute a little bit because the way I look at it, right, he's clearly shown he's great with player development, and we just, to bolster that statement, you look at the VFL list, the depth is very, very good. They're first in the VFL.
Yeah, exactly.
Their play development sensational. So you can give them credit for that they're actually breeding very talented footballers. But then you look at it and say, well, why are they not doing it on the field? Like, how can you not translate that into results? So when you look at it from that sense, I can understand should be a bit of blame on him because it's pretty poor that you can't translate that. Maybe he was just in the wrong role in general, and he's definitely helped that Gold Coast side in terms of in the long run. And I guess now the board is definitely looking for short-term results, because if you're going to sack him now, when I'd still say they're on an upwards trend, even though this season has been poor by their standards, they're still like they're in every game. I know they've been belted a couple of times, but when have we ever really gone into a Gold Coast game saying, no, you can easily back the other team?
Yeah. That
You can,
they're always going to give it. They're always going to give it 9 times out of 10. They're going to give it a fair shake.
well, yes, and then that's why I'm a little surprised they've just sort of let him go when that's something that's improved over time. But short term, he's just not getting the results out of these players that he's developed well. So there's just not a good correlation there. And I think there has to be some blame, but yeah, the board just I don't really understand what their vision is going forward. Like, what is the goal moving forward? What do you want from a coach moving forward as a goal? Is it to win a premiership, or is it to make finals? Because it just feels like they've sacked Drew off the fact they haven't made finals rather than anything, because he's clearly shown they're actually improving still. So it's an odd one.
It is, and I think what this is all alluding to, because look, I think Drew's underperformed as Gold Coast manager this season. I think he's been good overall. I expected a lot more from him this season, especially with what we saw in the middle part of the year. I thought, why didn't they do that? Why didn't they do that at the start of the year? Why haven't they done that in the last month? Obviously, it's very unfair versus Port, who are top 2 in the comp, Collingwood, who are top 2 in the comp, and Carlton, who are going to be top 3 in the comp very soon. So it's obviously quite unfair, right? And however, in saying that, Anthony put a comment in there, and I also think this comment kind of alludes to it as well. I think the club has been run extremely poorly, and I think that's the root cause. You and I think I can't remember where I mentioned this, but I think I mentioned it before. It might have been on this show. If you need, I think that club needs a culture shift. That club needs a culture shift from top to bottom, and in order to have a culture shift at a club, you need to bring in strong characters. You need to bring in strong characters who won't take any bullshit. I'm not necessarily saying the best. I'm not saying the most experienced. I'm saying strong characters. People with big, bold, brash personalities. People with a lot of charisma who will front the media. No problem, no questions asked. He will go to the board and give the board a serve if needed. Give the players a serve if needed, but with the best intentions of that football club. I don't think Stuart Dew was that person. I think he was quite timid at times. The way that he just came across as a person, he seemed quite timid and quite cautious and quite not really willing to go hell for leather. And I think that kind of is an issue. He's not his tactical and coaching ability, just the person that he is. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that's not what Gold Coast need. And I think I saw a stat. The latest in the season that Gold Coast have been in the top 8 was throughout their history was round 16 in 2014. So they have never been in the 8 post round 16 in their entire history. That regardless, that's not good enough. You can give me any excuse you want. It's not good enough. And unfortunately for them, they've got literally the carbon copy or almost an identical replica of their club in GWS, who have been run far better. I know obviously your thoughts on them is can counteract that, but as a football club, they've been run far better. That's undeniable. They made finals, they made a grand final, they produced young players, and even look at the position they are now. They're technically in their first year of their rebuild, maybe even second year of their rebuild, and they're challenging for the top 8 because that's how good their culture is. You look at Alex Canelio, you look at Alex Kelly, even Nick Haynes, Phil Davis, Callan Ward. These players who have been there since the start have built that culture. Gold Coast, what? Who's the only player that's been there from the start? What? Sam Day. Lynch
Swallow.
Gone. Swallow, yeah. Lynch gone, Dixon gone, Ablett gone, Prestia, O'Meara gone. Every one of them. There's no culture at that football club. And that means that they're treating it like a business. They're not treating it like a football club. And it's obviously two very separate things, which isn't going to work in the long term. It's not going to win them a flag.
Yeah, I can agree with it. It feels more like a business. I wonder what the fan engagement is like up there just in the Gold Coast. So I
Yeah.
wonder how,
Yeah.
because I've got here just sort of their finishing positions and members, and it has gone up since 2017 onwards. So that's when Juice started, right? As I
Would have
think,
been
well, at
around about
least
that time.
around that time. And it's gone up. They've actually gone up 10,000 members since that time. So I just wonder what. Well, still, obviously, they got that many members, but not that many people turn up.
Yeah. So
So it's
2018 was
interesting.
his
I
first year.
wonder. 2018, and they've gone. They finished. This feels like it's not right, but it is. They finished last in 2019, 14th, 16th, 12th. So up, down, and this is their down year again. It actually makes me think of our conversation a couple of weeks ago on this show about rebranding them. And I feel like that conversation now feels very relevant because it might. I just think if you rebrand them to that Northern Suns thing, there's a culture straight away.
Yeah.
And besides the business part of it, you've got a starting point now. It's like, well, now here's an actual community instead of we're a business trying to achieve something we haven't achieved before. You're not doing it for us, so say
Yeah.
possibly, but we've talked about that before.
Look, I think the cult, like I said, you can change culture, right? You can. It is you could. It's very capable to change culture, and I think the list right now has the ability to change the culture. Ballard, Collins, Rao, Anderson, King. They're your five that you build this club around. They're your five. I know obviously the age brackets differ amongst those five, but for the most part, they're your five. They're your five pillars. They're your five pillars: two key defenders, key forward, and your two gun midfielders. Sprinkle a bit of Took Miller, bit of Jared Witz, bit of Marbiel Chol, bit of Bailey Humphrey, and then all of a sudden you're building a marketable team, right? You're building a marketable team that, if they stick together, can build the culture. Culture isn't built by a list. It's built by a list, a board, and a coach. We're not going to be speaking about the board because, quite frankly, I don't know. So, like, I can't value anything to the conversation. We can speak about the coach though. No more due. He's gone. What's next? Who is it? When is it? I've got my idea. I think I'm in the majority in my thoughts. I think it's Dimmer, and I think it's I think it's as far as to say open checkbook, write literally whatever number you want. We're not doing a process. We're not doing interviews. If you want it, write your number down and we'll sign it. That's what I think they need to do. Because if you want a person who's strong character, charismatic, knows what he's doing in the coach's box, and knows how to transform the culture of a football club, who's already gone through all the development needed to learn all those skills and has shown that those skills can transfer into success, is Damien Hardwick. And it's not even a question. It is open. It is how much do you want? Let's sign right here, right now. That's for me what it is.
Well, I don't really, well, not to be boring, but I don't really have another idea in mind because, yeah, like you said, your views are in the majority. I couldn't. He's the best option when you look at what he's done to a football club, but I just still have question marks over. I just don't think any coach, I don't think a specific coach will just come in there and make it happen. I just do not think it's the coach. I'm sure they have, in terms of what happens on the field. Yes, a good coach always matters, but we saw with Jew, they did produce good football at times. It's just you take them into state and it's just completely different for them because you've got no backing. They are really on their own. So I just wondered to the extent what Dimmer would do to them if it really is like a mindset thing for them, if he would be able to transform their mindset when you go into state, back your process, like maybe it is a mindset thing, maybe it's not. I'm just not confident at this point that it really is a coach that's the issue, or it's a coach that will come in and change everything. I think he can make him a better football team and individually get more out of them because at least Drew has now set the foundations with their play development and they've built their skills. Dimmer, we know what he got out of players individually and to utilize their assets to the maximum potential. Maybe that's what they need, but yeah, it's just the whole thing of they've got no culture outside of Gold Coast, and I don't even know what it's like in Gold Coast, but we know out of it, it's pretty much non-existent.
Yeah, well, it was. Brendan raises the point. 80% of Collingwood, Gold Coast, 80% of the crowd was Collingwood supporters at a Gold Coast home game. Like,
Yeah.
I know he was making more of a different point, but I think the point still stands holistically. Not good enough, right? Full stop. You can't be an interstate team hosting a Melbourne-based team and having 80% of the crowd be the opposition, right? You can't do that. I don't know if it's simply just the board. I would, because the AFL obviously, like, I don't know to what extent the AFL have control over, but the AFL would have a very big control over what's happening at Gold Coast, right? Same what they do at GWS. The AFL want Gold Coast to succeed. I don't see how the AFL aren't going to do everything in their power to make Gold Coast succeed. So do you think, I think we're going to, I think finishing things up before we do we agree that it's Dimmer? That has to be. It has to be Dimmer, right?
Yeah, it has to be. I don't. If you go anyone else with less experience, then why get rid of you? Well,
Yeah.
so yes, yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah. I think to finish this point up, do you think it's bound to fail from the start? There is no way you can get a Gold Coast franchise to have sustained success in the AFL. It just will not work no matter what you do. Do you think we've seen now there's 10 years of failure, barring maybe 1 or 2 years? Do you think it's write them off? They're done. Like, you can't get success out of this club.
Yes, I do believe that because I just look at every other Gold Coast franchise that has been and now gone. So seriously, after 10 years, yeah, what is it? No, it's longer. Sorry, it's like 12 years now, and they've done nothing. They had one season where they pushed, and that has been it. Like,
and that season was very reliant on one player as well. And as soon as that player got injured,
yeah,
they won one game for the rest of the year.
They've gotten there is no draw to play up there unless you're a young kid who obviously you're just doing your best to get a game, right? You're not really thinking about because you didn't have a choice where you went. So you're there. I know, the culture builds over time, but if I mean from an external point of view, if you're a player from another club, there is no draw to come there. Why would you want to go there unless you love the Gold Coast pretty much? It would you really go there. Pretty much, yeah. If you love Movie World and you love beaches, sure, go to the Gold Coast. But there's no draw to say, come play for the Gold Coast Suns.
Yeah.
You'd kind of laugh at that as a player. Like, it's like, what? I don't represent. I don't think that representing the Gold Coast Suns means a lot. That phrase. What does that mean? If you ask someone from the Gold Coast, what does representing the Gold Coast, look like? I don't think there's a real answer to that.
It's a football club. It's a football club for the sake of being a football club. There's and this is. I mean, it has to build, right? Then, and it has to build. And you say, why would someone want to move up to the Gold Coast? That's, in my opinion, that's when you turn to the players I mentioned before: King, Anderson, Miller, Rao, Ballard, and these players to build that. Oh shit! I want to go play with Took Miller. I want to go play with Matt Rao. I want to go play with Ben King. That's how you build. That's how you build the want for the players to come. Because the only player that's wanted to come was play for Freo, Weller, right? And they had to cough up pick 2 because Freo realised, this is the only player ever in the history of the game to ever want to play for the Gold Coast Suns. We're just going to extort them because they've got no other choice. So then they get into that situation, which is awful, right? But I think finishing things up, I don't know where to go from here, but is it a sake of when do they make finals next? Is it a sake of are they ever going to have sustained success? Like, where does the football club go from here?
Well, it has to be when they make finals because I don't see the AFL getting rid of them. They pump too much money into them to just simply say, game over. You either rebrand them or they just stay how they
Or
are.
merge them. Or merge them.
Or merge them. Well, yeah, I mean, who knows who they'd be merging with, but no, it'd have to be when. But I'm not saying that like, oh yeah, it'll be in the next 5 years. It will literally be when. When question mark, question mark, question mark. Like it's not. I would have no clue. There is no clear, target at the moment.
I want them to, because I think variety and difference within the league is good. And also, like, I love their list, man. Their list is so good. Like, their list is
Yeah.
so talented. I want to say so good, so talented, because I haven't shown it consistently yet. But the talent on that list is very good and very exciting. So I think it is just wait and see. Moving on to another Gold Coast point, and I think this branches off into maybe a wider talking point. In the game on the weekend Saturday night, we turned up into Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide versus Gold Coast, and Gold Coast superstar Ben King subbed out of the game at around about half time after having one disposal for the game. I'm not going to speaking about subbing out Ben King and Gold Coast or whatever, but subbing out your best player, arguably, or one of your most important players, even if they've had one disposal, yes or no? Because I feel like there's a few different talking points, a few different POVs on this one.
I think tactically, if you have the right idea in mind and that single player determines whether it goes to plan or not, no issue with it. Obviously, you can't really figure that out until later on if that's been a right call or not. I don't have too much of an issue with it because you'd assume that everyone in that team knows what they're meant to be doing to how to execute the game plan. So I don't have a massive issue with it, but it's also Ben King, like it feels, to get rid of a key forward, just like that, you must back yourself. Especially especially in Adelaide, where it's interstate. It's interstate, right? Yeah, you're relying on just being a good football team when you're interstate because, like we said, you got nothing else going for you at that point. So, yeah, an odd call, I guess. Yeah, if maybe there was something more to it that just doesn't, get disclosed through broadcast. But look, for the right reasons, I don't really see too much of an issue with it. But I don't think the reasons here were completely valid. It was a very odd call to make given where they were playing and how the game was going.
Yeah, I think it's look, this is what annoys me, but this is my perspective on it. It's Ben King, right? And it's a player that has the ability. I'm not saying that he does this consistently. I'm not saying he would have done it, but he has the ability to flip the switch and kick 3 goals in a quarter and turn the game around. He can do that, right? He's a player of that caliber who can do that. If it was someone like, I know Touk Miller isn't we'll just use Touk Miller for example. If it was someone like Touk Miller who isn't a have 15 touches, kick 2 goals in a quarter type of player, he's more a have 7 or 8 every quarter, and it builds up very nicely into a 28, 29, 30 disposal game that impacts gradually throughout the game, right? And he's just a very consistent performer. If he doesn't rock up and he has 2 touches till half time, then yeah, I think injecting a little bit of something different within that midfield, within that area of the ground, I think works. I want to use just Carlton example. I think it's only fair to maybe use it in that way. Remove. Okay, all right. We'll backtrack to round 8, 2022, when Harry Mackay's out injured and Charlie Kerno's Carlton's only key forward alongside Jack Silvania. If Charlie Kerno has 1 disposal till half time and we're away to GWS, do you sub him out in that game, in that circumstance?
Mate, well, that depends who's our sub, because if you're telling me that a certain number 4 is on our bench, mate, don't even think about it.
Forget about the sub. The sub is ex midfielder / half forward who averages 14 disposals and a half a goal a game.
Oh, yeah, we'll see. I'd say no, but maybe that's just I feel like that's bias speaking, but I guess I got to be consistent. So, look, it would definitely make you feel a little uncomfortable But I guess if I'm sticking to what I said before, then also, well, if you back the system, if they've got a plan in place, then you could look at it in hindsight and say, well, it was a good move. But it would definitely make you just sort of be like, I don't know if uncomfortable is a word, but you know what I'm trying to say is that you wouldn't really understand it, and it would definitely make you feel a bit iffy watching and hoping something's going to happen. Then you realize your key forward's not there. So
yeah. It's like when you've got nothing else, and that's the only thing that you're kind of relying on, especially to kick goals, and it's no longer there. It's like, okay, this isn't great. But yeah, I don't know if that decision contributed to the sacking of Shiuchu, but it was his final like big kind of finale, if that makes sense. So I guess he leaves some legacy subbing off banking, and it was also quite ironic that Max King as well, his brother, got subbed out in the concurrent game. Surely that would have to be the first time two brothers were subbed off in the same round.
Yeah,
surely.
that's. I'm sure. I wonder if I reckon it has happened once. Surely, like
the college Asneys, maybe.
I've got no clue. Maybe
because it would have to be two
well,
brothers from separate clubs.
One had concussions quite a lot. Cade, I'm pretty sure, had a lot of concussions, so you never know if there was one game. But
maybe
that's the Swamp thing. That is a Swamp thing.
That is a Swamp thing.
That is.
Actually, I think he might have tweeted about it. I think he might have. So I'm going to quickly check because, like you would have to be two brothers from separate clubs. And how many brothers that have played for separate clubs?
Oh, couldn't be too many.
Yeah, not a lot. You wouldn't think, right? Okay. He. I don't think he. Yeah. Okay. So it has happened. It has happened. Brothers subbed out in the same round. 2013, round 23, Nathan and Mitch Brown, and round 20 2023, round 17, Ben and Max King. There you go.
That's
who would be the next? If we could guess.
Who'd be next? Or
the Mackays, maybe?
I can't think off the top of my head. Mackays. Mate, that's well.
Well, if one gets subbed out, the other one can't play because can't play for an injury. So you have to get subbed out as well.
I'm not too sure. Maybe the Holland brothers. Holland's Elijah and Ollie.
Possibly. So more calm players get subbed out. Great. Maybe could be playing at the same club next year. You never know. Bits rumors. Anyways, let's move on to, as we are kind of short for time. Very, very, actually, somewhat thankful for Terry for that. So we don't go for an hour and a half, but we will be done before 8, so the preview doesn't get interrupted. Essendon playing the Cats at GMHBA Stadium. Yes or no? A lot of conjecture, a lot of talk, a lot of anger amongst a lot of people, or with a lot of people. This to me, right? This, and I know I feel like this could be somewhat unpopular, but this to me is up there with Collingwood and Richmond supporters complaining about playing one home game a year at Marvel Stadium. I think it's just so unbelievably petty, so unbelievably not important. Just go down to the Cattery, play the game, and just get on with your life. Like, yeah, I get it. The ground's not finished. Like, whatever. Yeah, you're locking out 50,000 people or whatever. To me, those are moot points, in my opinion. Just play the game. Like, is it really that big of a difference if 50,000 people come to the game? Is it really going to make that much difference to the bank account of the AFL or to Essendon or to Geelong? Is it going to be that much better of a spectacle? Like, I just think it's like, why is this even a talking point? And why are we even talking about it? We shouldn't be, but I feel like we have to because everyone's been talking about it.
I understand the dislike of playing at Geelong, and fair enough. It's not a football ground; it's a soccer oval.
It's not even that. It's not even that. It is a big rectangle.
It's a big, yeah. Like I understand that, but it is fair at the end of the day for Geelong to play. I wouldn't ever be opposed to Geelong playing Collingwood, Carlton, Richmond, Essendon in Geelong because if you play at the MCG, it'll always, and if it's Geelong's home game, it'll always be the opposition that has the most support. So in terms of a home ground advantage, I wouldn't have an issue because fair enough, it's your home ground. You want an advantage. There you go. That's one.
Exactly
That's
right.
your advantage. And it's what the point has been missed. They played them at the MCG and lost at the start of the season.
I know, and got
You couldn't
spanked in
even
that
beat
game as
them
well.
at the MCG. And
Yeah.
you think it would be the start? Carlton had to play there 3 years in a row
So yeah,
without even doubling
something
up
stupid
any
like
of
that.
those
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, no, yeah, it was something stupid like that. Yeah.
So, God forbid
Maybe.
1 year. Fair enough. They're a pretty big club. I can fair enough.
You can appreciate the yeah.
But tough luck. But I do think at some point you got to flick Collingwood down there because Richmond, Essendon, and Carlton have all had to have their share of Geelong. They need to go.
Yeah. When was the last time they played down there? Let's check. AFL tables to the rescue.
I don't even remember it in my lifetime. They've played pre-season down there, but I don't think they've played a premiership points game.
The last time Collingwood played Geelong at Cardinia Park was 1999.
Well, there you go.
That's stupid. I'm sorry.
It is unfair. It is not fair at all.
Yeah.
So,
that's stupid. Like speaking from a slightly selfish perspective, we've gone down there quite a lot in recent times. 2020, 2019, 2018, 3 years in a row we were down there. I don't think any of those we played them twice. So we played them once every year down at GMHBA. In fairness, can't remember the last time Richmond went down there. In fairness,
Richmond 2019, they went.
Well, there you go. Essendon
It's
went
been
down
a while,
there.
but they've still been recently.
Yeah. Essendon have gone down there in 2021. Yes, 2021 with I remember it was like COVID capacity. So the big four have gone down there. Hawthorn have even gone down there recently, I think. I think
COVID. They went. That was like one of those no crowd
COVID.
games.
Yeah, but they still went down there, right? Big clubs go down there all the time. Why are we complaining? Why are we complaining? It's like this shits me. This really annoys me. When why are we complaining about where you're playing? It's I know Geelong's a bit different because it is a big rectangle, but for the most part, it's a patch of grass. It's a patch of grass that might be an hour and a half this way, it might be 30 minutes that way. Who really cares? Like, if you were so, this is what kind of annoys me when people are like, X club is the best club in the land. X club are the best. We're the best. We play the best football. Whatever. Well, if you're the best, you should be able to do it against any team at any place, anytime. Why are you complaining about traveling half an hour down the road or an hour and a half down the road? Whereas if you're the best, you should be able to just beat everyone, right? Is that not how it works? Right? I'm not saying Essendon are claiming to be. Yeah. I'm not saying Essendon are claiming to be the best. That's obviously not what I'm saying. But this goes to the further point of it is a patch of grass. Just do you if I picked up this camera, this laptop, and I was told, yeah, you have to do this exact recording, but in bloody Echuca, I'd be like, yeah, right, that's fine. I'll do that. It'd be a bit annoying, but I'd be like, if I have to do it, sure. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's an over. I get the frustration, but it just makes me laugh purely because they literally got their home game earlier in the season. So this is fairness. This is literally fairness in terms of the draw.
As fair as it could possibly be. Yeah.
Like I don't understand what it's just laughable. It is really laughable because if you're good enough, it's been proven you can win there. It is not impossible.
Yeah. It's not this magical
impossible.
ground that it's not this magical ground that like Geelong have superpowers. You can win. Like it's not that like.
It just doesn't really add up. But look, fair enough. Enjoy the loss.
Yeah. Oh, gone early. Can't
I've gone
really.
early. I've gone really early, but
Look,
if they get up, we'll never hear the end of it. We will never hear the end of it.
get the DVDs up.
It'll be a week and a half if they do get up on Saturday. So
Yeah, it's Saturday night. I guess the one complaint is that it's Saturday night, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah. Bit annoying Saturday night. Game finishes at 10. Little 10:30ish, and then you have to drive up the highway middle of the night. That's annoying.
Yeah.
But I don't care.
I've never. To be fair, I've only been to the stadium just during the day. Never been for a game, so I can't really give my opinion on what it's like to be there. But it is still, not the greatest ground to just be around.
I've never been to a footy game. I've been to football or soccer games there. 3 of them.
Yeah.
And not great, if I'm honest. It's okay, but I've been to better grounds. And also, if Geelong's meant to be this God's country place that it's meant to be, just stay the night. Stay the night. Start Sunday. Go for a little wander. Go down the beach. Go up to Torquay. Go to I don't know. There's this tavern. I forgot what it's called. Anyways, we ramble. I don't know why we're rambling on a show that we've got time restrictions on. But actually, no. That's what I was going to bring up. The one argument, the one point of view which I understand is that I don't think Geelong should be playing any games at a stadium that's not finished.
I can. Yeah.
That's the one where I'm like, yeah, fair enough. But because they have so far this year, that you can't just change the rule for this game.
Yeah, I'm half on it. I guess there is no next home ground for them, because if you put it in Melbourne, well, that's it's just. Well, it's not the worst. It could be way worse.
They did it for how many years?
Yeah, no, I feel like there was enough of the stadium still there to call it usable. It just looked terrible.
It looks it looks shocking.
Yeah,
it looks really bad. Well, they redeveloped it recently, didn't they? They redeveloped it recently. Well, yeah, they redeveloped it recently. So they haven't. Oh no, actually, I've played quite a few games. That's quite strange. I didn't actually realize just how many games they played. I thought they took a massive break from playing games there for a while, but
there was. Well, they didn't. I'm pretty sure. Was it this year or last year where they didn't play until around 12? I'm pretty sure it was this year or something. They didn't play there until
their first game this year was around.
Season.
No, I don't know. Well, I think the idea behind it was because they thought the stadium would be finished, so they made all the games. They scheduled all the GMHBA games to be from round 7 because they thought that's when the ground would be finished. But I don't know if you've watched recently. The ground's not finished, and it doesn't look great. It doesn't look great. But yeah, it's not that good. Hopefully, it looks good once it's all done. I think it would. You'd hope so anyway. But finishing things up briefly, because we hate this talking point. Nank clobbered Jake Lloyd. I think it was Jake Lloyd.
Yeah.
And sent him to next week. Concussion, out of the game. Nank 3-match suspension. Or 4. 3-match. Sin bin, yes or no, briefly, because I despise this talking point. It's so stupid.
Oh, I was actually thinking about it. I was like, is AFL the only sport not to have it? If you obviously some sports, the teams, I was going to say, I don't think lawn bowls is having a sin bin.
Tennis. But just Djokovic serving to no one for 4 games.
But
yeah, no, it is because I was going to say basketball, but they have you can foul out.
Oh yeah, I mean you can be ejected, so it's.
Oh, you can be ejected as well, yeah.
Well, you can be ejected, yeah, if you get 2 tech fouls. But if you have 5 fouls, and you're out anyway. So there is a limit either way.
Rugby's got sin bins.
Yeah. I just don't. It's either if you're gonna implement it, it's you're out of the rest of the game, or it's nothing at all. No 10-minute.
I don't like sin bins. I don't like a blue card where you get off for 10 minutes. I don't like that. I think it's too fiddly and too like pedantic and like, oh, when did it start? Like, has it been like, does it carry over from each quarter? Does it carry over a half? Like, is it 10 minutes of real time or is it 10? Because obviously the clock stops. Is
Yeah.
it 10 minutes of real time? Is it 10 minutes of game time? It creates a whole issue, a whole lot of unnecessary remembering for the fan, and it creates a bad viewer experience. So I don't think I don't think there should be a sin bin. I agree. I think it should be red card and you're off. I don't think there should be yellow cards. I don't think there should be like a warning. I think it's straight either you're off or you're fine. But imagine the outrage if Patrick Cripps with Calamache last year, Patrick Cripps gets sent off, but then he doesn't serve any suspension and he works for a suspension.
Yeah.
Like that would just be
Yeah.
so like that causes issues for me.
I think the other issue with it, it's just too subjective. Like in terms
Yeah,
of
of
what the
course.
umpires that what one umpire thinks is not not be what the other one thinks, and that's where it becomes.
Yeah, well,
You
I think
leave it to the blokes afterwards, and that's I guess
yeah,
that's what the tribunal
yeah.
is for. So
And I also think the difference between that in soccer and in footy is that in soccer there's one ref. There's one
yeah,
ref, so it's going to be It's going to be consistent throughout the game. Whereas if Razor Race, if it's Razor Ray and I don't know another umpire, Stevic, they're the only two that I don't know. If it's Razor Ray and Stevic umpiring a game together, and Razor Ray says something in the first quarter and goes, "Yep, red card," and then the same thing happens in the third, and Stevic's the controlling umpire and says, "No, all good." It's like that creates
yeah,
another issue. I think it's a far simpler game, and you back. I know this term's been thrown around a lot for different reasons, but you back the spirit of the game in terms of players not purposely king hitting each
yeah,
other in a grand final just to get an advantage. Like if it's Collingwood Port Adelaide, I would hope that no one goes and lines up Nick Dacos from the bounce. Like even though if you get rid of Nick Dacos, it would give Port Adelaide the advantage. And if I think a lot of players would take a 7-week suspension for a premiership medal, you'd hope that the players are far more moral to not do that, right? So you'd
yeah.
back in the morality of the game to allow it not to be like that. But yeah. Any final thoughts before we move on to the preview as we finish up the show quite early?
Yeah, yeah. I'm just gonna say we are very.
We're
I feel
on.
like we should talk about something for 12 minutes, but actually, I do have some breaking news for you though. Breaking news. I say breaking. Max Kin has undergone an arthroscope on his injured shoulder, opening the door for a potential return to play this season. So it's gone from out for a year, the rest of the year, to now he's a potential. But I'm not going to take that.
Where is this being reported?
St Kilda's like Instagram. This is off St Kilda, so it's legit.
Official.
It's official.
Look, arthroscopes, to my knowledge, are just cleaning of the area around said thing.
I thought that was the thing you put on your heart, mate. No, I've got no idea.
Fuck off. No. My mum had an arthroscope on her knee, so
Okay.
I think it's just a cleaning up of the area of issue. So I don't necessarily know how that affects return time. But St Kilda quickly are stuffed without him because they have to go back to having Zane Cordy as a marking target. Which, look,
But it worked for them though. It worked for them. So I don't think it's as bad as a loss.
It did, but if of the two, if you like, with all due respect to Zane, but yeah, with all due respect to Zane, like if you're the second best Cordy brother, with the other one being Ace,
Yeah, fair enough. Look, it's not ideal, but then you bring Philippou and Caminiti back into the spotlight a bit, share the ball, around. They do just their tendency is just Mitch Owens as well. I mean, is just to bomb it and hope King gets his hands on it. And now they change it. I think it will benefit them, to be quite honest. But I guess time will tell with that. But it's still a massive loss nonetheless.
yeah, it is. No, it is for sure. All right, let's 10 minutes to spare with the preview.
Yeah,
How good is this?
ridiculous.
And we should probably get this done in like 8. to give time for the preview.
Yes.
Technically, you're getting 2 previews. So yeah, let's go into the tips and let's ensure that we get this done before 7. So yeah. So what are we doing? Yeah. Okay. You got 8 last week. I got 6. Extending your lead. 78 to me, 95 to you. So I should probably start taking it a bit seriously now, shouldn't I?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's just start. Let's get this going.
Yeah.
Let's get this going. First game Thursday night. Oh yeah. Also, yeah, last round of Thursday night footy. Yes.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's terrific for football.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. I agree. We're probably two of 10 people.
The other ones who hate it.
Yeah, the ones who don't like Thursday night footy. Anyways, tomorrow night, Sydney versus the Western Bulldogs at the Sydney Cricket Ground. Who have you got and why?
Yeah, it's a tough one, but I'm always leaning towards Sydney and Sydney. Even though Bulldogs, you would think on paper, should get it done. It's a must-win for Sydney, and Bulldogs always like to have some poor patches of form, and could be now. But I'll lean towards Sydney.
I agree. No Chadwarner, no Angus Sheldrick. So the midfield will have to see a little bit of mix up in terms of the dynamic there. But I will back Sydney. I think they're going to have to rebound after their underwhelming performance against Richmond, in which they probably should have won. Let's moving on to the other cricket ground that you play AFL football at, and it's not the Wacker, the MCG. Is it Wacker even a cricket? Yeah, Western Australian cricket.
Yeah.
Melbourne, Brisbane at the MCG. To me, quickly, it's the D's because it's at the G. And it's Brisbane at the G as well.
Yeah, it's hard. When you look at form, you lean towards Brisbane. Well, they got it done last year, which makes me like a bit 50-50, but they also got like outplayed.
I was in a final.
Yeah. You know what? For you, I'll go for Brisbane.
For me, it just means that you're going to get a bigger break. You're going to get a more advantage.
If it goes my way, but
Saturday night, staying at the MCG, Collingwood versus Freo, a Freo team without Caleb Serong and Hayden Young. Pretty self-explanatory for me.
Yeah, well, last week was definitely the nail in the coffin for them. They are not. Yeah, well, I think the fan base turned on them. They turned on them last week.
Yeah,
like it was okay. You gave us hope, and then you just proved that it it's just it's not happening. Collingwood should do it quite comfortably.
I agree. Moving to Heritage Bank Stadium, the Suns versus the Saints. New manager bounce potentially.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I would I've backed St Kilda recently. I don't know why, and it actually stopped me from getting a perfect round last week. So, bit of anger towards them. So I'll go Gold Coast.
I agree. I think the Suns will get up. Carlton just put Adelaide up. Marvel put Adelaide.
And I've tipped us 2 weeks in a row, and it's got up. So for a third week. Which, who would have thought this about 10 weeks ago? Who would have thought 3 weeks later, a couple of weeks later, the missus is 6-0. If we get up this week,
is she coming?
I'll personally buy her. Oh, she's coming. She's coming.
Oh, okay.
I'll personally buy her a Carlton. She'll be coming next year. Just continuing. It would be unreal, but look, I'm backing us. Until we lose, and then I'm solely back on the opposition. Just saying, but
yeah, I'm back in Port because it's worked 3 weeks in a row. So can't compare. If Anthony's still in the comments, there you go, man. Geelong versus Essendon at GMHBA.
Cats.
Yeah, I agree. Adelaide versus GWS at Adelaide Oval.
The Adelaide Crows.
Yeah.
In this one.
Although I do rate GWS highly.
Oh yeah.
Actually, no. GWS going to win.
If the Giants beat them, you surely have to get off Adelaide.
Okay, that's fine.
That's because I feel like that's a fair. You can't take them too seriously. And
That's-
Giants, they're good, but come on, in Adelaide, that's
Yeah,
something.
Giants could finish around in the 8 should results fall.
Yeah.
Mental. North, and then get ready for a thrilling Sunday kind
Oh
of
yeah, the
fixtures.
2-game Sunday blockbuster. Yeah,
Super Sunday, if I say so myself. Starting things off at Marvel
I said
Stadium.
the same thing as well. Yeah,
Starting things
that's
off,
bad.
North Melbourne versus Hawthorn, 110. Unbelievable game.
Yikes!
Can it be a nil or draw?
Yikes! I'm actually really like. This is actually a hard game to tip, even though it's
It is, even though it sucks.
probably one of the worst games. It's
I've gone North, just quickly.
you've gone North.
Yep.
Oh, I'll go Hawthorn then.
Don't sound too enthused. And then finishing the round with game of the year potential, West Coast versus Richmond at Optus. Shortly, right?
Yes, surely yes. Yeah.
Okay, good. That pause.
Richmond of last year, you might have swayed towards West Coast, but
No, you're back.
yeah,
You're
surely,
back.
yeah.
You're back. You're back.
So yeah,
They'll be
Richmond.
professional. So you've got Sydney, Brisbane. So this is for you: Sydney, Brisbane, Collingwood, the Suns, Carlton, the Cats, Adelaide, Hawthorn, Tigers. I've got Sydney, Melbourne, the Pies, Suns, Port, Cats, GWS, North, Tigers. We differ on 1, 2, 3, 4. So quite a pretty big avenue for me to catch up as we're running out of time quickly. So I'll wrap things up. But yeah, can't wait. Next week's going to be a good show. Thank you all very much for watching. Make sure you stick around in 3 minutes for the preview. That's how we did for the Carlton versus Port Adelaide game. So yeah, stick around for that one. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for sticking around. Thank you very much for joining me once again. Make sure you follow both of us on Twitter, R_Y_Stammer at Nath Seppi. Yeah, see you guys next week with hopefully another Carlton win in the books. But yeah, see you guys next week. Goodbye.